Oh my gosh. How did he what is this? But because then afterwards, I need to tell you about something that happened that made me want to flip the freaking table.
Nolan. Nolan.
Sit down.
Nolan.
Hello number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. Today we are finally giving a full review to Nolan's Odyssey because I've just come back from the cinema. We watched it. When I say we, it means me, my wife, and my father-in-law. And you know what's interesting? It's actually really good that there was three of us because we had three relatively different reactions to it, which I think are going to add to this review. Here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to review 10 aspects of this movie. The acting and casting, the pacing and editing, immersion factor, costumes, music, dialogue, build-up and resolution, combat, cinematography, and thematic meaning. Not in this order, but in whatever order feels better and more organic as I edit the video later on tonight. But one thing that I want to ensure you, as a little bit of a mutual understanding between you and I, is that I'm not here to waste your time. Okay? So I'm gonna be frank and direct. This is going to be an honest review. You know I have my biases. I hate all of the politics around this. I hate the race swaps. I hate the disrespect for the Greeks. I've made 30 videos complaining about all of the political messaging, all the nonsense, the fact that not a single Greek was cast, the DEI checkboxes. So I'm not gonna talk about that. If I was going to give a score to this movie based on that direction, I would give it a 0 out of 10. But I'm not here to do that, so we're going to set all of that aside. I've already covered it, but what about the movie? First and foremost, let's make one thing clear. This is a lie. These are all lies. All of the critics that are giving it 10 out of 10, perfect movie, masterpiece, incredible, perfect, they said. That's false, it's not true, it's a lie, and they're wasting your time. But I don't want to do the same in reverse. I don't want to pretend that the movie didn't have anything good and just trash it. Instead, I want to respect you enough to tell you how it is. So for a too long didn't read, there were some good things about this movie. There were some bad things. There were a couple of awful things that I couldn't believe. And in fact, there were a few scenes that I would say were actually really, really good. I'll give it a proper score at the end, considering all of the different aspects that we've just mentioned. But in general, this is no 10 out of 10. But to be honest, it's not a 0 out of 10 either, no matter how much we can hate the politics behind it and the disrespect for the Greeks. Always think about the Greeks. Let's begin with acting and casting. In my opinion, there are a few actors in the casting that actually carried this movie. I'll give you my favorite 3, and then I'll tell you the ones that I hated the most, my hated 3. Now, the number 1, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to acting, was Anne Hathaway. She did a phenomenal job at being Penelope, so Odysseus' wife. She really managed to give you the feeling of how much she loved her husband and how much her entire life was revolving around the idea of wanting him to come home. Also, she expressed the fears and love that she has for her son, Telemachus. The way she acted, she conveyed emotions. It really felt real. Almost every scene that had to do with her. Phenomenal job when it comes to the acting. Number 2, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but Matt Damon. Incredible job. It did not feel like I was watching Matt Damon. It didn't feel like I was listening or watching Matt Damon at all. It actually felt like a believable Odysseus. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's true. His acting skill, excellent. Once again, you could really feel that this man wanted to go home to Ithaca, to his wife, the struggle, the wanting to keep his crew alive, a ruining mental state that is getting worse because of all the experiences, the war, the years lost. Very good job with Matt Damon. You know that if I start with the good, I'm gonna have some bads. Oh my brother, we'll get there. Have some patience. Number 3, I'm gonna give it to Robert Pattinson. He did a believable suitor. In general, the suitors did a good job. They all looked quite basically like a bunch of vermin, which I think is good because it means they're doing a good job. They felt like villains. They felt like usurpers, opportunistic, selfish. It wasn't phenomenal acting. It was just sufficient acting to make it believable. Now let's talk about the actors that I absolutely hated. Terrible. Terrible. The worst of the worst. John Berthel. Like, I'm sorry. I'm a huge fan of The Punisher. But that's what you were seeing in this movie. The freaking Punisher. Same personality, same speaking cadence, same way, same attitude. It was the freaking Punisher. It did not give me, never mind Menelaos or Menelaus. Yeah, good luck. It didn't even feel like an actual ancient Greek. Like, it was the worst possible acting because it felt like it didn't belong. Every time that there was a scene with him, I was looking forward for it to be over. Again, I like him as an actor. I'm a massive fan of The Punisher, but this was not it. Wrong casting completely. Next, that I absolutely hated, Travis Scott. Travis Scott, completely inappropriate placing. And in fact, it was the very beginning when he was being the bard, the first voice that you hear. Out of place, didn't feel congruent, didn't make any sense. It was stupid to see. I don't think he's a good actor, to be honest, because, I mean, at the end of the day, he is a rapper. And you can tell that this guy is no actor. Luckily, he doesn't appear much. So for the small sections where he smashes the freaking thing on the floor and speaks, if you can bear that, luckily it's not much. But those sections were quite bad, honestly. Completely out of place. This is full on. Again, no reason for him to be in the movie at all. Next, Elliot Page. All right, so this is another one that the acting was mid, so it wasn't like awful, but it wasn't exceptional either. Completely inappropriate casting for obvious reasons that I've already attacked multiple times. This is another tick box, but we're not gonna talk about that. Setting that aside, to me, it kind of killed immersion because every time that I would see Elliot playing Sinan, so not Achilles, guys, I knew it. I told you it wasn't gonna be Achilles. They leaked that on purpose just to get you to react. That's what I said. I knew it wasn't gonna be Achilles. The reason why it takes me out of it, so this is something that didn't work on me, but maybe you won't mind, but for me, it's the fact that every time that Elliot Page was appearing, and I'm thinking that's supposed to be a Greek warrior, no. So it didn't have the visual of what you would expect, also considering the fact that there were a few people that were really looking the part, and then you see Elliot, it was like out of place, so that took away some of the immersion. I don't particularly like the sound of Elliot's voice. Personal, I know, maybe you don't mind, but I am giving you my own review. And then the fact that every time that I saw a scene with Elliot, it kind of killed it for me because I constantly thought, well, are you going to say anything about it? Then you're transphobic. So that kind of took it away from me. Now I get it, that's a me problem, although it's not generated by me, it's generated by the idiots. But in general, mid-performance, nothing particularly special. Maybe a little bit the scene when the character is already dead and it's speaking as a dead person. That scene was fine, but nothing particularly interesting, to be honest. Kind of redundant. And I've already addressed the politics of it. I'm not going to do it again. Next, Tom Holland. All right, I should have mentioned Tom a little earlier. Tom was a little meh. So it was difficult. I don't think it was the right choice for Telemachus. And particularly because you could see him right next to Anne Hathaway, who did an incredible job. And then Odysseus, when he actually returns home, that made it look even worse because it was difficult to take him seriously. And again, that's me, but I don't think that he was a convincing Telemachus. It didn't give, once again, the feeling of an ancient Greek person. The thing that he did well was how obsessed he was with being able to, find his daddy. More on that later. So he did convey that. I was almost expecting him to crack a joke when it wasn't the case. So I didn't particularly like his performance, and I don't think it was a good pick for Telemachus. They could have done a much better job. All right, let's start going a little bit more controversial. Samantha Morton played Cersei. And here's the thing. Look, the scene was fine. The whole section with Cersei was actually kind of fun. I liked it. We'll get more on that later. But her, as an actress, I do not think she did a good job. Was it a skill problem? No, I think it was a direction problem. First and foremost, Cersei is supposed to be gorgeous, beautiful, a beautiful goddess. So already we're missing that. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that does not look someone that would seduce Odysseus or that would use her beauty together with her magic. It's just not a great choice. The other thing is the way she spoke. She was supposed to speak in a way that would have been sweet and almost messing with your mind. charming, but she didn't do that. It was in fact kind of an annoyed woman who had distaste for the men. And now, given so did at the end of the day the original character, and that's why she turns them into pigs. And in fact, that was pretty good the way it was done. You see, it sounded more like a look at these men who are pigs, rather than they couldn't control their desires, but Odysseus could. In the sense that in this, it looks like Odysseus, the way it was written, figured it out because he's smart. But the reality is that it's his reasons, it's his logics, and his ability to maintain control intellectually of the desires of the flesh that actually allows him to come victorious. So I think it was a little bit of a writing situation, but still, regardless, I don't think it was a good choice for this role. More controversy. All right, guys, I know you want me to talk about these two. Zendaya, absolutely out of place. I did not see Athena at all. Not only she doesn't look like the way Athena should appear, and that to me takes away points, but what about her acting skills? The acting was fine, actually. People were saying how she was gonna have the same face or the same facial expression throughout the entire movie, and that was not the case. It was not true. No, she actually did a pretty good job, particularly towards the end, when you can tell that she's like crying and she's trying to help Odysseus. At the same time, she understands the struggle. So the acting was fine, not as good as the other two, but was fine. It wasn't bad. It's just that I personally didn't like the ultra realistic human level representation of the gods. It's such a choice. It's a director's choice. I would have preferred the gods to feel more godly. Maybe a little extra special effects. Not too much. I'm not saying too much. But then again, that's just me. His vision was like this. The racial aspect, we already talked about it, setting that one aside. Acting wise, she was fine, but I never really felt I'm looking at a goddess. And to me, that's a problem. But, you know, it's Athena we're talking about. I should have been like, oh my gosh, Athena. And I never went that way. So whether it's her fault or skill issue, or whether it's a director's issue and she was just basically following his vision, I don't know. Not a huge fan. Now the most controversial of all, Lupita Nyong'o as both Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra. Forgettable, underwhelming, nothing special of it. In fact, believe it or not, I preferred the scenes when she played as Clytemnestra, particularly the encounter with Agamemnon, or how she's screaming after Agamemnon sacrificed her daughter to have beneficial winds to the gods. She did a better job there. The acting was good. Like, I could tell, okay, she can act. Fantastic. Great. We knew that. But I want to say, I preferred it as Clytemnestra. I think she was inappropriate because neither Clytemnestra nor Helen of Troy were black. I will die on this hill, but once again, setting that one aside, acting skill-wise, she did a better job with Clytemnestra. She did say, however, that they were twin sisters. And I would like to underline that. She used those words, my twin sister. I love that she said that, because so many of you, when I complained and said that they weren't supposed to be twin sisters, so many of you well, not you, but people on X, they stormed and filled my comment section saying, how do you know they're twin sisters? Well, there you go. She said it. I mean, she didn't need to say it. It's the same freaking actors. Of course it's going to be twin sisters, identical twins. And they were, in fact, identical twins. The only difference is that when she played the role of Helen of Troy, she was disfigured. Her face was all cut, which was another very weird choice. I don't know why they made that choice. Was it to say, look, it's not about the beauty, it's about her personality? I haven't got a clue if that's where they were trying to go. Anyways, kind of forgettable. Nothing special, nothing interesting about how she played Helen of Troy. Maybe when she was like sorry a little bit when she talked to Telemachus. But the whole arguments with the husband, Menelaus, it just didn't do it for me. I knew it. I didn't think it was a good choice for obvious reasons, but she didn't change my mind, okay? And she doesn't have that much screen time anyways, which is kind of funny because she was complaining about the screen time that Homer did not give to women, which is false, by the way, because, and I'm going to make a dedicated video because I'm not done. This is the movie review. We're going to go into the mythological and history review, but I'm saying she was complaining about how Homer did not give enough space to women, but it's not like Christopher Nolan gave her that much space anyways. So if you are put off by the fact that Lupita Nyong'o is in this movie, well, within the entirety of the film, you won't see her that much. Last but not least, when it comes to the actors, Charlize Theron, she played the sea nymph, the mortal sea nymph, and very well played. In fact, very believable. I mean, once again, I would have added a little extra special effects. That was just my personal preference. But aside from that, very believable, very good. That would be, it looked like a woman that could really convince you, together with eating the lotus, but she could really convince you to stay with her and forget everything about it, so I really liked that part. All right, so that's the acting. Let's move to the next. What about the pacing and editing of the movie? So I wasn't a huge fan. Then afterwards, I need to tell you about something that happened that made me want to flip the freaking table. It was probably the worst thing about this entire movie. So please wait for it, even if you're going to click away. Believe it or not, and that's when I'm going to tell you a little bit about the other people involved here. My wife absolutely hated the first hour. She thought it was she didn't like it. She thought it was stupid. But she loved the rest of the movie. So interesting, isn't it? Maybe that could be you. You're watching it. The beginning will be, it's slow, it's stupid. You'll see why it's stupid. I'll tell you in a second. But in general, she really hated it. But then afterwards, particularly the last hour or so, she really, really liked it. My father-in-law watched the first hour, stood up and left. He was bored out of his mind. So you know how there are some people that have said it's really boring, it's slow, and it's dragging. And in some aspects, it's true. For me, however, maybe because I am an absolute lover of the classics, I grew up with these stories, it was sufficient, those small sections of the movie that I'll tell you in a second, that really made me feel, oh yeah, I can kind of see it. I can see through all the bullshit, I can actually see, yeah, this is Homer. Yeah, this is the story. And so it kind of recharged to my battery. So I did watch the whole thing. Would I rewatch it though? Not in a million years, not even if you pay me. And that's a big factor, because instead, if you give me The Matrix, I periodically rewatch it every few months. There are plenty of movies that I would give 10s out of 10, 9 out of 10. And one of the characteristics is, but would I rewatch the whole thing just for the pleasure of it? And this, no. So there are some problems with the pacing. The time as well feels very confusing. One thing that they chose that explains a lot of things, and I actually did like this choice, and then I'll tell you something I hated, is that you do see some of the Iliad as well. You do see the Siege of Troy. You do see the battles sort of weaved in as memories, because this is the Odyssey, it's afterwards, right? They're trying to go home, but they have lived through the Iliad, and you kind of experience some of it through the memories of the characters and the sort of PTSD that resulted in. And I thought that was a good idea to sprinkle in a little bit of Iliad, also because, I mean, if you want the action, it's in the Iliad rather than the Odyssey. The Cyclops was done really well. The Steel Giants, guys, wait a second. Let me talk about the Cyclops first. So, the Cyclops was probably one of my favorite scenes. He's well done, and it conveys the fear. It conveys the fact that he's, of course, the opposite of what this whole situation of Zeus hospitality, where you need to feed your guests, instead he eats them. Like, that's conveyed in a way that it works, and the way they need to figure out how to get out of it. It's not too short, it's not too long, and it was very well done. So that's a scene that if you watch, I think you're going to enjoy, because I liked it very much. The special effects were good. It was monstrous. It kind of, also the sounds, when he gets, probably the thing I liked the most is when he gets blinded with the stake in his eye. The screams in the movie theater were incredible. It actually felt like this isn't a human creature screaming. It's something that is the son of the gods, but is weird, and so it's monstrous. I loved that. What I did not like, guys, oh my gosh. Okay, guys, this is the stupidest scene I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking, it is so ridiculous. It's probably one of the reasons why my father-in-law left. It was ridiculous. So they get to this freaking island, right? And then they meet this child. So a child of the giants, it's gonna look like an adult, right? To us, but with the face of a child. It had a mini version of the armor, the plate medieval armor, that is completely inappropriate, and it wasn't even metal. You could tell that it was freaking cardboard, plastic, or whatever the heck stuff that they use for these kind of, it didn't even look like metal, but it's supposed to be. And the child had a metal mini plate armor version. It looked ridiculous. And then the child screams, and the giants arrive. For some reasons, they were there in battle formation, I guess, and then the whole fight starts. It's absolutely deplorable. Like, I'm talking, this looked like, in fact, this kind of connects to the costume part. We'll get to it. Awful costumes, terrible armor, fantastic weapons, though. Except for these giants, because they had these weird falchions. It was, oh gosh, this was so bad that I couldn't believe it, guys. I knew it was gonna be bad, but oh my gosh, I did not know it was gonna be that bad. Like, literally, if you made the giants look like Stone Age Denisovan retards, it would have been 50 times better. But this, they were clowns. They were complete. It looks like when you have a video game that is so low budget, they get assets that belong to different genres. So you'll see a photorealistic monster next to a cartoonish one. That's what it looked like. One of those. It was terrible, and they had tried to fight. Good luck with that. So they start running away. These guys start to destroy the freaking ships and flip them around. It was absolutely ridiculous. Oh my gosh, that was bad. How did he think that this was a good idea is beyond me. It looks terrible. It was really bad. In general, the movie, it's strange because it feels like it's edited together quickly, and yet it still gives the idea that it's dragging. And the consecutio tempore, the idea of the time that is actually passing, I know it's difficult to convey that, okay? But this is Christopher Nolan we're talking about. And he did convey time extremely well in Inception. Like, you felt that these people were in sleep state for decades. You could feel that. But this didn't do it for me at all. It didn't feel like Odysseus was in there for 7 years on the island, 10 years for the battle, stranded for another bunch of years. Like, it didn't really feel that way. It felt instead that things kept happening relatively quickly, and yet it felt slow. I don't know how that happened, but there is an issue. So to me, the whole movie felt like dragging slow. Oh, really good. Oh, dragging slow. Oh my gosh, look at the Cyclops. Oh my gosh, it's just like, oh, this is so stupid, but at least it woke me up with the steel guys. And then it's dragging again. But then it's again slow, the whole part. Oh my gosh, I get it. They are hungry. There are a lot of scenes in that freaking Viking ship that kind of took it away from me. But anyways, editing and pacing all over the place. But now I'm going to tell you the one thing. Argos. No. Like, you can't do that to me. I was ready to cry, because that's what every decent human being does in the scene, in any version, including the ones you read, and you don't even need to see it, but even more so when you see it. The loyal dog, the puppy, that waited for decades, even saying it now makes me cry, for decades, awaiting for his master, for his owner. And then when Odysseus finally arrives, old, but the dog recognizes him, and the bond, the waiting, loyal, I was waiting for that so much. You are not going to believe it. They do it in like 5 seconds. It's nothing. Like, yeah, the dog does a little when he's like almost dead. Odysseus bends, says something, over. Nothing. No emotion, nothing. Why couldn't they make some of the other scenes shorter, the ones that we didn't need, cut a couple of the scenes in the ship, and show us a proper Argos moment? He didn't do it. For me, that knocked off 2 points out of the final review. It was, you can't do that. The sirens. What? That's another one. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Probably one of the scenes that I was waiting for the most. Very bad. In comparison, at least the Cyclops was done well. It was long enough. How about you, at this point, cut into a third the section with the steel giants and give me more sirens? Because the sirens, you could barely see them. They don't even say anything. You don't even hear them sing. You hear this music a little bit, a tiny little bit of singing, and then he goes nuts. He actually does that very well. One of the soldiers removes the ear plugs and jumps into the water, and that was it. Literally, the silence part is like 30 seconds, maybe maybe a little longer than that. It felt like 30 seconds, maybe it was a few minutes, but it really was bad. Too short. You didn't even get to see the sirens. Personally, I hated that one. Now let's talk about the costumes and the weapons and armor. Believe it or not, the weapons looked really good. The swords, the axes, the shields, but the armor, awful. So I don't get it. Like, why did they spend so much time recreating Bronze Age axes that looked really believable, even when it comes to the possible constituents within the type of alloy that created the bronze, because it looked like a bit of a dull gold, which is correct for the business end of axes and maces and spears of that period. Still, it's just, I don't know why. Like, the sword was good, the grip was good, the shields on the wall looked realistic, so they did put research into that, only to fuck it up completely with the armor. The armor looks cheap, awful. Everyone wears leather, nothing, zero historicity with it. This sort of beanie mini jacket metal, supposed to be darkened bronze, it looked on Telemachus, looked ridiculous. I just, not to mention, as usual, in one scene, he's wearing some kind of breastplate, a different one, but someone stabs him through it anyways. So, as usual, armor is just nonsense. But guys, do we want to talk about the Trojans? Bro, what is this? What on earth is this? What is this? Like, the Trojans look horrible. They look like this. What I'm about to say applies to everyone, really, but to the Trojans even more. The Trojans looked like this is not even reenactment level, like not even close. This is a Halloween costume party level of equipment. It looked like shit. Like the helmets, the gummy looking, rubbery, all white but dirty. It's disgusting. What on earth is this? The Trojans, oh my gosh, when they appear very early. You get this, first thing you see is Trevor Scott, second thing you see is Elliot Page, because they gotta show you guys, we bend the knee to the cult, and then you see the Trojans, and they look awful. I couldn't believe it. Those helmets. What are we even doing? What is this? I know they're trying to do Corinthians. What? What? Oh gosh, the Trojans. And there is the whole memory section of the Siege of Troy. You gotta see them fighting and battling. Goodness gracious. Now the one and only, guys. The one we really need to talk about. This, it was as bad as you imagine. It really did feel like Batman. He even walked like Batman. When the siege, the horse enters, the whole stratagem works. They get out of the horse, they assassinate the gods, they open the freaking thing with this music that I get it. Well, I'll talk about the music later. But then the doors open and you see him. I mean, it's imposing, but it's ridiculous at the same time. Every time you see him, like, he walks all powerful, and then as he gets in, and like, this is all ours, is all serious. Like, he wants us to take him so seriously, and I can't, because I keep seeing freaking Batman, and it's ridiculous. And it's a massive missed opportunity, because imagine if when they opened those gates of Troy, and you saw, I like the idea, right? Agamemnon is there, and then all the wave of Greek soldiers enter. But imagine if he was wearing glittering bronze armor of 3 different types of bands, 42 bands, it's how it's described. Some are darkened bronze, some are gilded bronze, and some are copper, so reddish. Imagine glittering, it would have looked like a god among men. Like, it would have been like, we have no choice. Look who has instead, it's like a freaking clown. It looks like a Marvel superhero. He really did. He really did. So everything you expect that could be wrong with this armor, it happened, guys. It absolutely happened. It was terrible. Very briefly, let's talk about the music, but because then afterwards, I need to tell you about something that happened that made me want to flip the freaking table. It was probably the worst thing about this entire movie. So please wait for it, even if you're going to click away. But let me tell you very quickly about the music. Yes, the music, the ending when you leave the theater and you hear Travis rapping, given, it wasn't modern rap. It was a mixture, luckily. It was a mixture of rap with something kind of ancient, so it's not too bad, but it still was like, what am I listening to, bro? I'm leaving and I'm hearing Travis rapping. But whatever, the music, believe it or not, there is a lot of choirs, there is a lot of voicing, and I loved it, and it still worked. So the music was good, it was intense, it conveyed good emotions, except from the sections where, like when they were about to open the freaking door of Troy, and there was this constant pounding that just wouldn't resolve, and that was driving me absolutely insane. Like going, photo constantly, and you're waiting, but it's taking so long, it's dragged to a point that I'm like, bro, what are you trying to do? So the music was really good, I think, considering he didn't use the orchestra, and he did this instead, like chose specific instruments and mostly choir voicing with music. I think he did a good job. So I have no problems, no quarrels with the music apart from what I've just complained about. Build-up and resolution. The other build-up that they did very well, but they completely fucked up at the end. It's unbelievable that the reviewers are telling you that it was perfectly executed at the end. Are you joking? No, the end is very undermining. It's not great. Because what they did is, in theory, they are building up this desire, this longing. Oh, the wife really wants the husband, and the husband really wants the wife. It works. It really works. And you're really there, waiting. You want them to find each other. So the building up of the tension, excellent. But the resolution, bro, it was so underwhelming. It's incredible. Like, they did it very quickly again. Oh yeah, Odysseus, now she knows it's him. She recognizes him. They talk a little bit. Then they're out of it. They're on the ship, and she's hugging him. But not really, it's nothing. Like, they fucked up the ending. They should have given us a full maybe 5 minutes is too much, but like, give me 5 minutes just of the expression of these decades waiting, and finally he's here. They didn't do it. Nolan fucked up the reuniting of Odysseus with Penelope. How do you do that? How do you do that and still give 10 out of 10 to this movie? But I don't know if it's done on purpose at this point, since Emily Wilson said, and that's the translation that has been used, but Emily Wilson did say that, Odysseus was just objectifying his wife. Maybe that's why. So maybe that is Emily Wilson translation. And what else did I find about Emily Wilson translation that conveys with the building up a resolution of the movie? Well, the suitors absolutely get what they deserved, but the maids, the girls, nothing happens to them. But in the Odyssey, they get killed. And you can tell, in fact, that one of the maids is actually kind of working with the suitors and kissing the suitor and wanting to help him against her mistress, the lady of the house, of the palace of Ithaca. So you do see that, but no punishment. And once again, do remember that Emily Wilson thought that they were victims. They didn't deserve it, even though Homer thought they were traitors and they did deserve it. So they cut that out completely. So the suitors get what they deserve. The maids, the housemates, no. Completely out of the thing. So that's the problems I have with build-up and resolution. I'm just going to go through this one very, very fast. It's the usual Hollywood trash. Meaning, they take the sword, they take the shield, they don't know how to use a shield, and all they do is 1, 2, oh! So they're crossing the swords, ting, ting, oh! Tried to get you the leg, so now you need to do this, and then I do the spin, and oh, you weren't expecting the blade to that usual cliche. Combat was bad. With the suitors at the end is fun because Odysseus fucks them all up, and I enjoy that. But apart from it, combat in this movie, just the usual stuff. If you enjoy usual Hollywood ting, 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 oh, if you like that, then you're gonna love it. Otherwise, if you know anything about historical combat or martial arts, you're gonna hate it. You could tell. It's the usual slop when it comes to Hollywood combat. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because that's all there is to say about it. So what about the immersion factor? The immersion factor is not great. I didn't like the fact that you don't feel like you're in ancient Greece. The only exception being a little bit the shots with Ithaca's castle. Although then again, it looks more like the ruins of a castle. There is no color in the architecture, which instead should have been the typical polychromy of classical antiquity, of the Mediterranean. Let me see if I can show you Mycenaean world as well. So the palaces look like this, in the sense that there is no color. Instead, they should have looked like this, and you don't get that in this movie. The only color you see is from the sea. So there are a few scenes where you see the blue of the sea, the greens of the grass, that bring in a little bit of color and does look like the Mediterranean, also because they did shoot a lot of it in Sicily and I think in Turkey and a little bit in Greece. So of course the natural environment brought in color, and luckily, thank the gods, it didn't remove it with a filter. So the palace looked like it didn't look like this. It looked like ruins, and it was beige. Basically everything was beige. And the statues, no color. The columns, no colors. The walls, zero. And so I did not like that aspect of how the immersion factor, because it didn't feel like you were in ancient Greece. Not to mention, there were a few scenes, like the famous hunting scene. So this one here, that really looked like Robin Hood. It looked like we were watching Robin Hood. I mean, not that it looks medieval, it looks fake Hollywood medieval. That's what I mean. So, yeah, that was pretty bad with Menelaus or Menelaus. And so these scenes, the lack of colors, they didn't act like you would imagine ancient Greeks to act. Immersion factor, quite bad. And in combination with the race swaps, of course, immersion factor gone. So if you want to experience this as a movie with a plot that you can enjoy, maybe. But if you want this movie to take you back to the past and makes you feel like, wow, I'm experiencing ancient Greece, not gonna happen. Not with this one. Zero. I give it 0 for the immersion factor. Dialogue. Ooh, okay. So how bad was it? It was terrible. Like, not only the parts we know, daddy, my dad is coming home rather than father, all that kind of stuff. The language is pretty bad. I mean, to be honest, I think the language in Game of Thrones was more immersive than this. This felt like a bunch of dudes, not to mention one of the suitors actually telling Odysseus in disguise, is literally telling him to fuck off. I'm not joking. So, like, they don't sound like ancient people. They sound like modern people. And they act like modern people in combination to that, because I don't think the actors could immerse that well when they are speaking with modern vernacular. So the dialogues were not great, but the lines were good in the sense that the register is what I didn't like. It sounds too modern, out of place, silly. But the lines were well developed by some of the actors, like, again, Odysseus. Athena's lines were actually fine, and they carried weight thanks to the acting skill of the actors. So some dialogues do hit the emotional department. But then there are plenty of others that, due to the choice of language, don't. And so it's a mix. The dialogue, it's a mix. It's well written, but the register is weird. Sometimes it takes away from it a lot, and other times it's bearable because maybe in that moment you're actually focusing on what they're saying and not how they're saying, and that will be the only way you could go through it. Just focus on what they're saying, not how they're saying it. All right, what about the cinematography? There is a filter for the majority of the movie, and it's a gray palette. Okay? There were some really bad choices, apart from the palette that I've already discussed. So, in general, the visual aesthetics were not great. It's just me. Camera work was good. The lighting was fine. I liked it. Color grading, pretty bad. As you would imagine. Last but not least, what about the thematic meaning? Were they trying to push the original story? Not so much. Some of the original story is there, but this idea of Odysseus is trying to defy the gods is not the story. The story is the message to be, you should humble yourself before the gods. Instead, they go with this, no, I defy the gods, and I didn't like that. I thought it was strange. Also, I found a couple of messages in there. Like, at one point, you have Penelope, who is an ancient Greek woman, and she has this, like, temper tantrum with her son Telemachus, because Telemachus says, well, you could get married and I could become the king, and she's like, yeah, because men are the ones that need to be on the throne, even though I've been on the throne for 20 years, but you get a little bit of a beard, and your experience is more important than mine, even though I have all the experience. She's mad, she stands up and she goes away. Bro, an ancient Greek woman wouldn't say that. Even if she thought it, and most likely she didn't. It's like, you have this very short act of rebellion of the woman that felt modern feminist. The other thing was that at one point, and I swear they did it on purpose, there is this scene where they get to the shore, they're trying to go home, the soldiers, right, the Greek soldiers with Odysseus, and then, I don't know, they start stealing stuff, and there is this local person on the ground, on their knees, and they try to speak to this person who doesn't seem to speak Greek. They speak another language, but then they still talk to him back in Greek for whatever reason, and there is these two actors. They're both black. Well, one is Middle Eastern, but whatever. They're both not ethnically Greek, both of them, in the shot, and they are the ones that tell him, we are Greeks, and they repeat it multiple times. I don't think that there was, I mean, he could have put someone else. He didn't. So I think that that was on purpose to be like, they are not ethnically Greeks, but they're just as Greek as any other ethnic Greek. I do believe that there was a messaging there. All in all, final review. How much do I give it? Well, 2 different votes. First score, considering the disrespect to the Greeks and all of the political nonsense and the race swaps and the transgender and the DI boxes, I will give it 0 out of 10 trash. But that one is the political biased review. What is the actual score? 6 out of 10. I give it a 6 out of 10. So, is it an awful experience? No. Is it a good experience? No. It's mid. And the +1 that I give it, it's a mid experience, that's all it is. But the +1 that I give it, to give it an actual, to reach 6, is because of Anne Hathaway and Odysseus and their acting. That's why I'm telling you, the movie's being carried by them. Remove them, I will give it a 4 out of 10. But with them, and those scenes specifically, plus the Cyclops, I give it a 6. But it cannot be higher than a 6, in my opinion, and still be honest, even if you enjoyed the movie, because they fucked up the central aspects of the story. The resolution was terrible. The ending was very unsatisfying. After all of that build-up, you just give me a couple of minutes and bye? And then again, I personally, not that I'm a movie reviewer or critic, but I will say this. I do not give anything above 7 to a movie that I wouldn't watch again. And there are plenty of movies like The Sphere with Dustin Hoffman, The Matrix, the original first one. Another one would be The 13th Floor. There are movies that I consistently rewatch because I miss the experience. And so every few months, I just rewatch them on their entirety, and I love it. I wouldn't rewatch this even if you paid me. Well, unless it's thousands of dollars, then I would. Which means it's impossible to give it an 8, a 9, or a 10. And so, is it a 7? No, because they fucked up the major things, but I'm not giving it like a 3, because again, the acting of those 2 actors alone really did convey this love and longing. And then the Cyclops was good, Circe and the magic, how it was done, how she was physically manipulating them into turning into animals. I enjoyed that. That was well done. And so, yeah, I'm not going to give it a 4, but I'm not giving it more than a 6. And then again, the lack of the armor looked like shit. All of that, if it's a historical or half historical, half mythological movie, I will never give you above 6 if you fuck up the armor, because that's just me. It takes out of it. Anyways, this is my score, my review, 6 out of 10. But it's still a 0 out of 10 because you disrespected the Greeks, and I will never forgive you for that. And with that being said, thank you for watching. Muppet. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth.